We're breaking down anything and everything Utica City FC related. This is the Keeper's Corner podcast with your hosts, Matt Sterling and Brandon Brooks. Let's get into it.
Ron.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to a post-season edition, a year in review for the Keeper's Corner podcast.
Howdy, howdy, howdy.
Brandon, how you doing?
I mean, I have a lot less stress. Don't get me wrong. It's stressful being a MASL fan just in general. So taking the stress out and being able to just watch the games without having a horse in the race isn't really a bad thing. I kind of don't hate it. But I don't know. I guess I kind of have a horse in the race. You know, there's certain teams that I want to win, certain teams that I want to lose. At least up until this point, I've been really torn on this series. So I don't know. Apparently.
You know what I said? Team Meteor 2024. I hope they both lose. So far, one of them has.
Yeah.
The other one, they got to do a little more losing. But so let's talk about Utica's season, and then we'll come back to the everything else.
Okay.
Unless you want to talk about everything else first.
No. Utica season's good. I like Utica season.
Because I figure with tomorrow we should save our predictions for the end, like we always do.
I like it.
Yeah. All right. So here we are, second year of the Everton Morera era. Say that 5 times fast.
Everton Morera era. 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 Everton Morera era.
It just sounded like you were trying to be a rapper.
God, I hate myself.
Not a bad season. I would say a very good regular season. We finished second in the East. Improved in a lot of places over last year. Had some pretty dominant offensive performances. Some kind of lackluster defensive ones.
And offensive ones.
And offensive, yep. And there's a few things I don't know, just stand out to me.
Yeah, I mean, it was a season like any other. It had its ups, it had its downs, it had the stuff in between, some good, some bad, and we just take it all and we smash it together, and that's our season.
Yeah, I mean, all told, we started out hot, 6 wins in a row. We had a couple bumps along the way, but in all, Utica never lost more than 2 in a row. So you never had a part where you're like, we're going into a slide. This is where the wheels are falling off. We're turning into the Kansas City Comets.
Hey, yeah, look how that worked out for people picking on them.
Yeah, that was a team that had all the talent in the world. You just couldn't figure out what was wrong with them. Like from the outside, it was just, I don't know. Then there they are in the finals. So
for the first time in 10 years, apparently, which I didn't know. Thought was kind of cool little tidbit of knowledge, but yeah, it's first time in a long time. So and they're down a game.
Yeah, there are some teams in this league that struggle a little bit when they get into defensive matchups. Yeah. Low scoring is not to their style of play, so it's a challenge if they're not the one dictating the pace.
True. Yep.
One of those, I would say, is Utica.
very offensive-based team, you know?
Yeah.
Which is, again, a difference between where we have been in the past under Ryan Hall. Very defensive-based team at that time. Still had its fair share of offensive weapons, but was very, in most cases, a very defensive-focused team. And it paid off in some cases. You know, first season, it paid off great. And then with the switch to Everton Moreira as coach, we definitely saw that defensive focus to offensive focus. And we've seen that not only in the games, not only in the style of play, but in the recruitment of players. You know, we've seen a shift in the focus of where we are pulling, where we're focusing to get the most strength on the field, and that's in the front.
Yeah, definitely a strength. 191 goals scored this year, which is ridiculous amount of goals.
Yep.
Just under 8 goals per game. It's 72 more goals in this season than we scored in Ryan Hall's last season as head coach.
Ooh.
It's 59 more goals than last year. Like it's an almost 40% uptick offensive, or it's an over 40% uptick offensively in one season.
That's a big difference.
Huge.
I mean, that's literally just under a sixth of the overall goals for the entire league. Because I think there was like, if I remember right, they said like 1,300 goals across the whole thing. If I remember right, they put out the stat on the MASL website, I think, talking about how many goals that were scored over the course of the entire season. It might have been higher. I don't remember now that I say it.
I mean, you know, Utica came home with 16 wins this year. 6 of those 16 wins were by 5 or more goals. Double digits in pretty much all of them.
We like double digits.
No doubt that this was an offensive powerhouse of a team. Defensively, we actually saw a slight downtick year over year. I mean, very, very slight difference. They allowed 4 more goals than last year.
Very slight difference then.
Yes. Yeah. You know, nothing that, if your style of play is we're just going to outscore you, good luck keeping up. Nothing that you're worried about. Unless you play against teams that can keep up.
Yep. Yeah.
And then it turns into a shootout.
Yeah. We definitely, you know, there were some teams that just seemed to have our number. You know, if they knew how to deal with our style of play, you know, we definitely had a much more difficult time getting through those games.
Yeah, I think part of that is defensively. What would we have? Like 4 true defenders on the team?
Mo, Nelly,
Logan
Alava. I mean, DJ came in late, so I'm not really counting him.
We saw him for the final game of the year.
I'd like to.
Hundell was pushed back to defense, but he still kind of played more like a midfielder.
He did, yes. Yeah.
Yeah, really 4 true defenders.
Yeah.
5 if you want to say, okay, that's where Hundell was playing out of. But he was like almost an attacking you know what I mean? Like an attacking defender.
Yep.
Yeah, so maybe some roster construction that we could work on balancing next year.
Yeah.
Especially just Santana is 46. He'll be 47 before the year's out.
Mm-hmm.
Is he going to want to play another year?
Is he going to want to play for Utica?
Yeah.
I mean, not that, we didn't, after a little while, give him a nice warm welcome. It wasn't a warm welcome to begin with, which I still don't like, but that's beside the point.
Logan had his best season of his career. But if you've paid attention to any of his socials after the season wrapped up, he is, I would wager 50-50 on if he's coming back or hanging it up.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, this is literally the first season in a while that he has actually made it through the entire season. He has not, at least since they've been Utica City, I think I want to say this is like the first season that I've seen him make it all the way to the end without being injured and out.
18-19, his first year here was his best before this, when he had 21 games, 10 goals, and 2 assists.
Yeah.
This year he played 23. He had 11 goals, 7 assists. 18 blocks this year compared to 9 that first year.
Okay.
And he's 29.
He's
28.
Not old, but he's not exactly young.
Right. Let me check. Oh, going on 30. So he'll be 30 next week. Early happy birthday there, Logan. Yeah, not really old, especially in terms of this league. So you'd hope that his body would be willing to let him come back. It could also come down to coaching, what the plans are in the offseason between Tommy and Everton. But I, for one, would love to have him back.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I mean, he has become, I shouldn't say he's become, because he's been around for a while. He is one of the, I don't know, I guess you could say, he's one of the originals of Utica City. He came over when they were the Silver Knights. And he's one of the few, because there's not many left. I think we've gone over this before. It's basically him, Nate, Toby, and Andrew.
Yeah.
So
and Toby every year is at that point where you wonder if he's going to hang it up, and Nate just had major hip surgery, so we don't know what he'll come back as next year.
Yep. Also, just a quick thing. I was very, very off on how many goals there were for the entire season. I just went and calculated it real quick. Basically, all I did was I just went into the regular season and I just took the goals for each team and just added them up. And it was 1,974. We had 191 of them, so we had about 10% of all the goals across the goals across the league
in a 13-team league. So yeah, we were definitely on the upper end for offense.
Yep, so not bad. I mean, over some of our previous seasons where we've had a negative goal differential, I mean, literally last season where we were negative 21, and this season where we ended up being, I think, positive 34. Yeah, positive 34. Big difference. And I mean, there was, I know I kind of backtracked a little, but I mean, we were 18 off from Monterey, who had the highest of everyone at 209. And the next closest behind us was San Diego at 171. They were still 20 off from us. So we were firmly in second place for the amount of goals that we had.
Yeah, I mean, like we said, offensive juggernaut.
Yeah, big difference.
And we played 21 of our 24 games on a full or near full size field, unlike Monterey, which played over half of them on the smaller fields, which tend to be higher scoring games. So, says something about the offense.
Yep. Hubert, I don't know if that's a serious question, if you mean how many goals against Utica, or if you mean how many goals against across the league, because it's going to be the same number.
Okay, but how many came with no one in net? How many were...
Okay, listen, you are the stat man. I just added up some numbers.
Yeah, you did some numbers. Now you got to do more.
No. I'm all burnt out for the day. Sorry. These fingers are broken now.
All right. Well, I guess we'll go back to stats.
You can go back to your regularly scheduled programming now.
One of the things we kind of harped on pretty much the entire second half of the season was the special teams being down from last year.
Yeah.
And penalty kills. Not terribly down. They're at 59.5%, down from 64%. So slight dip. Probably the most disappointing thing or the best thing about that was we had 4 shorthanded goals.
Yeah.
Bigger worry was the power play. We went from a team that was finishing 45% of the time to a team that barely finished at 30%.
Yep.
And gave up 5 shorthanded goals.
Yeah, I was going to say, I mean, yeah, sure, we scored some shorthanded goals, but we got scored on, unfortunately, more than I'd like to say, because it just felt like every time we went on a power play towards the latter end of the season, we got scored on.
Mm-hmm.
Like every time we went on a power play, that was my big worry. It's like, we're going to get scored on. I don't know what it was. I don't know if it was like overconfidence or something, but it just felt like every time that we were on a power play, that's what happened. We got scored on in a shorthanded. I know, Reggett got one on us. I don't know. That's the one that really sticks out in my head is
at Tacoma. We had 2, I think.
Yep.
I don't know. To me, that says we were just putting the wrong unit out there. Like something wasn't meshing with these guys on the power play.
We're just overcommitting to the front, in my opinion. Yes, obviously, power play, push more. You want to obviously kind of push more. It's a power play. You want to try and get the most out of it. Mm-hmm. But when you're against certain teams and what they can do, you might just want to be a little bit more careful. Not play it super safe, but still make sure you have a runner. I would say we need to have a designated runner. Somebody, a defender that can help up top, but get back really quick. Because look at our defenders. Mo, Nelly, and Nelly specifically, I'm going to mention on this one. They are not the fastest, and that's not a knock against them. They are not the fastest, but usually one of them was out there as our defender on these. And they can't get back that fast. And that's when we end up with shorthanded goals against us. Is because they get that quick counter and we're not ready to go back.
Yeah. Which is weird to say for a team that had so much speed and utilized speed offensively. And then they just kind of would almost fail to use it getting back at times. You've talked about it where you'd catch guys hanging their head or maybe beating the turf or something after they made a bad play. And a couple times it led to goals.
Mental game.
And,
that is something that Utica needs to fix going forward, is the mental game. Too many times we see guys getting in their own heads. Some of it more prevalent than others. I've talked about it before. Not going to rehash it. But we need to make sure that we can keep guys out of their own heads. And also, kind of keep guys from spreading, if they do have negativity, from spreading it on the bench in the middle of a game, because it's just going to make things worse. So however we do that, I don't know. I don't know how you necessarily do it, but there's a way out there. And if anybody can find it, it's this team. Give Timmy pom-poms. I don't know.
You got to kind of stick to that goldfish mentality.
Yep.
Just clean things up. Like we said, 16 wins. That's 3 more than last year. That's 6 more than 2 years ago. 2 years ago, if you remember, the league was split into 3 divisions because we had a few more teams. And Utica finished 3rd in the division, just missed the playoffs by like a point or 2.
Yeah. Yep.
Last year, we made the playoffs as a wild card team.
Yes. Because we had a play-in
game.
Had
a 1-game knockout.
Yep. Play-in game against Kansas City.
That came as 4th in the conference, so we improved to 2nd in the conference this year. Again, you're seeing better regular season results.
Yes.
Top goal scorer year over year. 2 years ago, it was Joey Tavernese. He also led the team in points with 19 and 29 respectively. Last year, the first year under Everton, we all know game-winning Gordy, 22 goals, 41 points.
Oh yeah.
The first 40-point scorer since Syracuse came to Utica, and set the team record for points in a season. This year, thanks to a dominant final 2 weekends of the year, Frank Tayu finished with 30 goals and 49 points, both team records.
Yep. He silenced some of the doubters. There was a couple of very dominant Frank games that he was able to really solidify his place on the team. Really able to basically say, hey, I'm here and you can't deny me anymore. His double hat trick game comes to mind. That was a big one. And it's like, told you. I sang his praises since the beginning. Yes, I was like, oh yeah, I'd like to see more from him. Kept saying it every week, and it's like, we're gonna just give it time, and then bam, there he is. Like, looky who we got.
Yeah, which is great to look forward to for next season, because we don't know a lot about contract situations, but we do know that he is locked up at least through next year.
Yes. And it's definitely not one that Utica is going to give away easily. If there was some sort of negotiation and it's like somebody else wanted him, it's like, yeah, but you stay here.
Yeah, that is a something that we can hold on to in the offseason going forward, knowing that however many changes happen on the roster, who comes in, who decides to leave, Frank will be back.
He'll be back.
So this might speak a little bit to being a little where we talked about like our players that the emotions get the better of them. 2021, 33 blues, 6 yellows, 1 red. 2022-23, 36 blues, 6 yellows, 2 reds. This year, 37 blues, not anything I'm going to bat an eye about, 11 yellow cards, and 2 reds.
I think I know who a lot of those went to.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can think of 3 players specifically off the top of my head.
I had 2 in mind, but
which
Nelly, Hondell. I had the 2, so I don't know who you had for the 3rd.
Let me double check, but I believe the other one was Mo.
Oh, okay.
Mo got hit for 2. Hondell got hit for 2. Nelson got hit for 3.
Okay.
That is 7 of your 11 yellow cards right there. Nobody else had more than 1.
Yeah, I mean, those were.
Sorry, Coughlin. Oh yeah, Coughlin only had 1 too. So like, if we remember a few years ago, he was doing quite a bit of chirping, and
he always does that. I mean,
I think he counted for half of the yellow cards 2 years ago. Yeah, he had 3 yellow cards 2 years ago.
He definitely has he for lack of a better way of putting it,
defense.
Yes, I was gonna say he likes to run his mouth, but yes, he definitely wants, he definitely has a lot to say in certain situations, but I think he toned it down after they changed the rules about goalkeepers serving their own penalties, and he's definitely toned it back.
Yeah, it's been a good thing to see, because in our goalies, we've actually seen an improvement over the past 2 seasons. Way back in the post-COVID year, 256 combined saves for a 65% save rate. Last year, we talked about the defense not being as good because change of philosophy and all that. 291 combined saves, 68% save rate.
Okay.
This year, 316 combined saves, 68% save rate. So, goalkeeping, still very good. It is a little concerning to see that in 2 years they've seen 60 more shots, or, like a 25% increase.
Yeah, it's not. Sorry.
Like I say, you can limit some of those shots reaching the keeper, and a few of those close games are going to go your way.
It was definitely, an improvement. I have one piece of advice though for our goalkeepers. One in particular. Stop blocking it with your face. I'm not playing it. I'm not doing it. I'm not hitting the button. You know who you are.
But sacrifice your body for the good of the team.
To an extent.
Yes. Don't sacrifice your long-term health. This isn't American football. We don't need a single case of CTE, and we all know who it would be.
Yeah. I think I actually have one critique that I think is valid. Too many times this season, we caught our keepers hands down. You guys can use your hands, just kind of wave. Don't forget about that. I mean, not that they do, but like I said, I saw all 3 of them do it. At least one game if not more,
Mm-hmm.
where, especially when they're fresh, especially when they were early on in the game, either, early in their shift or just if they started the game early on in the game, where they just left their arms down. And it's like, guys, make yourself a bigger wall. So just something that they'll have to make sure that they remedy going forward.
Mm-hmm.
That's all. Just make sure to use your hands, use your arms, your hands as a keeper. That's all.
Yeah, good. A couple kick saves could help as well.
A couple.
Yeah, I could think of a few where they were deciding to go to ground instead of just kick that foot out for a faster reaction, and their upper half couldn't quite get down there.
Yeah.
In time. But all in all, very good regular season. Weird asterisk on the postseason.
Yeah.
How were we feeling about it?
So, I mean, after the first game, I wasn't sure how to feel about it because the two players that we lost didn't really end up contributing much in that game. And so I was like, okay, all right, we're going to be at home. We're going to have a decent chance because we're at home and we are loud and boisterous. And, we've seen how that plays out in different games. I definitely, 100% it hurt us. I think more so not having Everton immediately available. Yes, I know that they had him, in different methods, FaceTime. I think at one point, Tommy might have had him in his ear, but it's not the same. It's not the same not having that commanding presence of your head coach directly on the bench to be able to directly influence a game. So I think that hurt more than Frank and Milton. And actually, it wasn't just Frank and Milton, was it? It was Frank and Milton for the U.S. team, but we also lost Belliard. Was that it, or am I missing somebody?
That was it.
Okay.
Frank Milton and Belliard.
I think it would have been
your top two scorers and a technical.
Yes. I don't know. I kind of felt like in our second game we were just extremely sluggish anyway. It felt like we were kind of sluggish in both games, to be honest with you. We just didn't have any push. And I think having Everton on the bench may have helped to rectify that. Yes, having some of these other players on the field might have also been pretty impactful. As you said, literally our two top scorers should have helped to swing the games in our favor, or at least swing the games closer to our favor. Not that they were far apart. They were close games. But I think having those three on the field would have potentially given us the edge. Having Everton there might have helped to balance the scales. Having those three on the field might have helped to tip the scales. I say might because we don't know. We'll never know. Yeah. The only way we would know is literally if we had the exact same teams next year, which we won't. Neither team is going to be identical. You can almost guarantee that in this league.
Yeah. Yeah, there are a lot of pieces that could be on the move for everyone. Because, unfortunately, a lot of the contracts in this league are just one-year contracts.
Yep, especially for newer guys. I've already talked to at least one of the newer guys, and yeah, it's, you get 1 year. Prove yourself. So.
Yeah, a couple that I've talked to have been Apparently, I have the ability to tell Tommy to give people raises because that request was made. I don't have that authority.
Literally I mean, you work there, so
I am in the attached building.
You work at the building, sort of,
but on the wrong side of the hall.
On the wrong side of the hall. Yeah.
Like the first time I went in those offices was during the IIHF just to deliver lunch. But
I don't know. I will just say, just on that point, just because it's just funny. That's one thing I love about this team is just some of the funny moments and just the. I never would have seen myself or you or any of us being talking to these guys on a regular basis. You more so because you're there, but it's just I know we put them on a pedestal because they're sports stars to us. And it doesn't matter how small the league is. They're all superstars to us. And it's just awesome to be able to interact with them as much as we do. So that's what I love about this. That's what I love about it.
Yeah, you end up the number one reason we haven't had more players on is because I don't want to approach them and come off creepy or stalkery. Like, hey, we talk about you guys for an hour every week. You want to join us?
You want to come hang out? Be friends? We'll ask you a lot of questions.
Tell us about yourself.
Yeah, we just...
this probably isn't the best thing to do, but actually I've had a player... hit up the DMs on Instagram if you're chatting. I was like, hey, anytime you want, come on. And we got to work out details and everything, but hopefully we'll have someone on here.
We share the mindset of we don't want to bother players.
Yes.
We know that you guys have your own lives. You have your own obligations, things like that. And so we don't typically we literally just don't want to bother you, plain and simple.
Yeah.
So, and I've had those conversations with a lot of the guys that I talk to, and every time it's like, no. It's like, yeah, well, I respect boundaries. Mm-hmm. So it's like, I'm going to give you that boundary whether you like it or not. Anyway, didn't mean to go on a tangent. If you want to bring it back.
I was just going to add that. Yeah, it's tough sometimes because, hey, I can see you. I could run into you at any time. I've talked after games or before games or whatever. Don't take this criticism personally that I say during the shows. Or use it to motivate you. I don't care which.
We're never trying to be negatively critical. We're just trying to be constructively critical. Mm-hmm. So that maybe we point out something that somebody hasn't already seen. And then it's beneficial. Yes, most likely you've probably seen or heard everything we already have talked about. But we're trying, we're going to put it out there. And if it helps, awesome. We did something. We did something useful. Woohoo!
I'm like 95% certain none of the things we say get back to the guys that we're talking about or to Everton. But then when you see it happen in a game, just to be like, yeah, that's what I said. Sometimes I know what I'm talking about.
You.
Ultimately, I feel like Utica got cheated a little bit at the end of the season, not having Everton and Belliard and Nilton and Frank for the playoffs, especially when it meant that Reggett turned down the team to play for his.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't envy any of those guys having to choose. Because you've just spent a season going through and bleeding and sweating and working your ass off with these guys, and you have to choose them or representing your country on the national stage.
Yeah. Which I don't blame any of them for wanting to represent their country.
No.
Like, I'm sorry. I'm not going to hold that against them. Absolutely not.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I felt a little cheated. Felt more cheated just by the officiating assignment. Mm-hmm. When we knew that for some reason Utica doesn't do well with a specific official there, and then that official is assigned to an elimination game that Utica's playing in. That just felt like, no, we don't want you around anymore.
Go away.
Especially when that official isn't then like in the finals.
Yeah, I noticed that. I mean, I saw who.
Official of the year, though. Official of the year is in the finals. Kyle Trimble.
Oh, I didn't know that. I didn't even know that was an award. I missed that one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they give one every year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he was game one.
Mm-hmm. But I'm glad baseball season's going, so I can go complain about their officiating because, oh my God, if you want a league that can compete with the MASL for what the heck is going on, it's baseball with their umpires, strike zones, and everything. The Yankees manager got thrown out the other day because he started to complain about a call. The umpire was like, "I did my job. I checked with the other official.
Yep. You
say anything else, you're out of here." And then the guy sitting behind the dugout yelled at the umpire, and the manager got tossed. Like, man, to be that guy, you have a story forever.
Yeah. Yep.
You guys want to hear about that time I got the manager of the Yankees kicked out of a game?
That's a good conversation starter. It's really good.
It's great. I would have liked to have seen what could happen if Utica was at, like, I would feel less robbed if these guys were injured.
Yes.
It is what it is. Look ahead to next year, and hopefully there's no CONCACAF futsal tournaments during the playoffs.
Yep.
And we know that there will not be a World Championship hockey tournament in Utica at that time.
Which is good, so we don't have to deal with that.
Yep. So, looking ahead, any changes you would like to see moving into next year?
I'll say it like I've been saying it all year. More of a focus on special teams. We need to get our special teams in order. Mm-hmm. We can do that. That's going to help swing a lot of games in our favor. So I think that's number one on my list is fixing special teams. And I mean, that's the most glaring one, to be honest with you. Like, I'm trying to think of something else, but that's like the most glaring one for me.
For me, it's balance. We talk about this being an offensive juggernaut, but defensively, not great.
Yeah.
You allowed 6.5 goals a game. And like we said, teams that can run with you, the Monterreys, Milwaukee's, Kansas City, all the other teams that made the playoffs can keep up with you. Mm-hmm. And those games become a crapshoot at best.
Yeah, they do. Yep.
Defensively, we'll see, but there needs to be a couple more. I'd say two more guys. They don't even need to be part of the regular rotation because game days you're going 5, 5, and 4 probably 5. But faster.
Yeah.
Like you're really fast offensively. Like we talked about defense, not the fastest. None of them are really speedy, if we're being honest.
I mean, I think, one of the things that Huber mentioned in the chat is just that, even though he's not a defender, he is a midfielder. If we have Nate back next season, that could potentially help to fill that runner role that I was kind of talking about on that defensive unit. We've seen him. As long as he can come back and be close to where he was when he was here before, his surgery and things like that, he could help to fill that role, but rather than, needing potentially another defender. I mean, in reality, I could see two people already on this roster filling the role of runner for our just for our units. Nate is one. And if they bring him back, which I'd like to see, I think DJ could also fill that other role. I think those two would be exceptional defensive runners that can get back in the event of turnovers. So those are two that I would absolutely think right on our roster now could fill that role without even having to get new players. Yes, I do agree. I think we do need at least one more defensive. Maybe not two. I'm going to say one. I know which one I want, but it's beside the point.
I at the moment, we'll go based on social media posts and say that, let's say Logan doesn't come back. Let's say Nelson at 46 hangs it up. Do you run it back and say, all right, DJ, we invested in you in the draft. You had a year to adjust in M2. We're going to add you to the roster. Jace, we brought you in. You added to the roster. You played. He was assigned as a defender on the roster. Run him out there in year 2. I'd still feel like it'd need one more person defensively.
Yep. I know who I want.
Yeah, we all know who you want.
It's not a secret. I know exactly who I would like to have in that defensive role.
Yeah, just you want the reunion of the Tayu brothers.
You darn right I do. Who wouldn't? I watched them in Empire. I'd love to see them together again in Utica. Like that would be a dream come true for me to have both of them on the roster together.
Yeah, and that's certainly one that, again, older, not quite as fast. I wouldn't be opposed to it, but it has to be balanced with speed.
Yes.
You can't just have. Yes, you need that physical defender for the larger target forwards in this league. Look at how Santana did versus Rian Marquez versus covering Reggett. That's just a mismatch when you put the speed and agility and the quickness and ability to turn, of Reggett against Santana. Rafa, and he was being a pest. Was it last year when Empire came to town before Frank got kicked out, and he was just darting in and out on Frank,
Yes. Yep. He was going after Frank at the time. And it was just like, boy, This is mismatch of the year, but he's giving them hell for it.
Like, we know offensively we've added Kelvin for the next 2 years.
Yep.
That's obviously exciting seeing what he can do as he gets time to mesh with all these other players and adapt to the league and have more than a week of practices before a home game. And hopefully Coughlin and Wilkin are back. I think they're one of the better 1-2 punches in the league as far as goalkeeping goes.
Yep.
Really, if he's healthy and back in Tacoma and you have Toth and Waltman, they're probably the best duo. I would put San Diego's duo up there as well.
Yeah.
But the fall off from 1 to 2 around the league is pretty tough. Obviously, Monterey 1 and 2, they split so much time this year, but their stats were both phenomenal.
Oh, yeah. I mean, they both held their own anytime they were on the field. So I mean, it literally did not matter that they split time. They literally in regular season, I mean, they both had over a 70% average save percentage. I mean, that's nuts that both of your keepers, who literally both of them played at minimum 16 games. So like, these guys did great.
Yeah. That's really what I'd like to see. Just a little more focus on balance.
Yeah. Balance in all things.
And I'll say why in a little bit longer. But let's give our predictions for the Game 2 MASL and potential Game 3 Ron Newman Cup finals between Chihuahua and Kansas City. Who takes home the trophy?
I think we're going to see, especially after the Game 1. I mean, Game 1 was extremely hard fought. Kansas City is, just like Utica, a very tough place to play. I mean, Eric Bergerd was talking about it the other night, where it was really hard to hear in there when they had 5,000 some odd people in there. And so the fact that Chihuahua still pulled it off in regulation is impressive, to say the least. And just going off the last time that Kansas City went to Chihuahua, they got slapped 8-2. Now, granted, that was during their low point of the season, but it's still Chihuahua. So I gotta go with a back-to-back. I was kind of 50-50 before the first game. I kind of was like, as much as it pained me because Kansas City knocked us out, I was like, it's their first time in 10 years. They are the U.S.-based team. I kind of see going, rooting for them. But I also kind of wanted to see the back-to-back from Chihuahua. So for me, I'm going to stick with my guns and go with Chihuahua.
Okay. Yeah, if you talked to me before the first game, I would have said Chihuahua in 3.
Yeah.
Just that small field, the home field there is very tough to win at. And we've seen teams that play on the full-size or near full-size fields tend to struggle when they go to the smaller one.
Yeah. Especially with 3-line violations.
3-line violations, defensive clearance, just because everything's thin and tighter.
Yep, it's condensed.
After the Chihuahua stole a game, I'm saying it's over in 2.
Yeah.
Don't see Kansas City stealing it. And I'll tell you why I'm pretty confident in Chihuahua. That's why I think Utica needs to work on defense. Since 2014-15 season, 7 of the 8 MASL champion teams allowed 5 or less goals during the regular season per game. They were defensive minded, not just defensive minded teams. There were a few that approached around 100 goals a season, a little bit over. Mm-hmm. The one outlier was Chihuahua last year with 124 goals allowed, 5.16 goals per game. Yeah, like a 3% difference in that outlier. But no team that's allowed more than that on average during the regular season wins in the Ron Newman Cup finals. Mm-hmm. And that's because defense travels.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
We've seen days where guys just don't have they forgot their scoring shoes at home. It would be the best way to put it, where it's like, on any given day, that guy scores that 99 out of 100 times, and apparently it's the 100th time.
Yeah, this is the time.
It's the 100th time, and it's the 100th time, and it's the 100th, you know what I mean?
Yep.
But if you can limit the opposing team and adapt to their style of play, mm-hmm. you're going to have success.
Yeah. Yes, you are.
It's a bend, don't break. I'm not saying you need to abandon the offense for Utica. But like I said, balance.
Yes. We do need balance.
If Kansas City pulls it off somehow, they would break that trend. They allowed 10% above that 5-goal limit, 5.5 goals a game.
So still pretty close to it.
Close, but enough that you're starting to get into a true outlier.
Right.
Defense wins championships.
It does.
You can say, hey, we're going to lean on our offense, but in crunch time, it seems to be the same thing again and again and again in most of these leagues.
Yep.
All right. I think that's everything for us.
I just kind of speaking on defense real fast.
Yeah.
Because I know you didn't watch the game, or you said you haven't watched any soccer.
Nope.
So
I haven't even watched outdoor soccer.
I just want to mention this because I don't know what sort of mind games were trying to be played in the Kansas City game, but you know how Neto likes to play the possession game, where he hasn't actually taken possession of the ball and will stand over it. 2 minutes. He stood next to the ball, never taking possession of it, and Chihuahua never pushed. I don't know what, and that was when Chihuahua was down. It was in the first half. It was in the second quarter. Check it out.
Okay.
But yeah, Chihuahua, I don't know what. Yeah, basically, Huber, like I don't know what. I don't know why Chihuahua just let them run the clock. But yeah, they literally never pushed him, and he finally just stood there, and then he finally just said, and then passed the ball off to his teammate. But 2 minutes. 2 minutes. He just stood there. It's like, why? I get it. You're running down the clock. You're ahead 2 goals at this point. I do get it. I just couldn't understand why Chihuahua didn't push. It's like they were trying to play the mind games right back. Like, if we push, all he's going to do is pick up the ball and whatever. But they just did not want to. I don't know. They just didn't want to play the game, I guess. They just didn't want to play that game against him. And so they really just didn't. But it was a crazy thing to watch.
I'll have to pop in and see what happened there. I'll just look for on the play-by-play for where nothing happens for a long stretch and then cut to that.
Yeah, I want to say it was right around in the second quarter, right around like the 4-minute mark to like the 2-minute mark. Right around, that's what actually that's probably pretty darn close. So seriously, just check it out. The place went wild. Never seen anything like it.
Okay.
But I just had to throw that in there.
That's the last thing I want to talk to you about. So, free agency doesn't start until May 31st, so we won't know who's going where until then. But if you were a free agent in the MASL, are there any teams you would prefer to go to or teams you would avoid?
All right, I'm going to preface that by saying I'm taking teams to avoid. I'm taking Harrisburg off the table because that's too easy. Because everybody's going to say that. Oh, well, nobody wants to go to Harrisburg. Harrisburg's a good team. Stop it. It's just they haven't been since we've seen them. Anyway.
Yeah, COVID did a number on them, and then they haven't kept anybody except Francis since.
Yeah. Well, yeah. So if I was a free agent, in my head, I mean, you're going to look at the top teams in the league, of course, which Utica's up there for this past season. Now they're also going to look for consistency. Utica has not been up there. They've always been kind of middle of the road. So are we going to be a lot of teams' first picks based on stats alone? No. What's going to win players over is the atmosphere. Everybody talks about the Odd and how it's an amazing place to play. Like, it is both when they're here as an opponent, or they're here as a player on our team. We always hear that, Utica's a great place to play. We're up there with Kansas City, Milwaukee, stuff like that in that regard. So teams that I think free agency are going to look at are going to be teams. I'll give you two from each.
Okay.
They're going to be looking at in the East. They're going to be looking at Utica, and they're going to definitely be looking at Kansas City. And I'll even give you a third. I'd even say Milwaukee. Basically, the playoff teams. I leave out Monterey because of border things. Literally changing countries to play. I don't see a lot of players doing that.
It's tended to be easier for the Mexican teams to field Mexican players.
Yep. I get the feeling, at least, well, let me give you my West. In the West, I can see Tacoma being a big draw because of their surge towards the end of the season. And I can also see, I'm taking San Diego out for the same reason I took out Harrisburg. I'm actually going to say Texas is going to be number 2. It's going to be 2 teams that free agency is going to be vying for. And I see what you're saying, Huber, but they're not in the league right now. So I'm taking it based on the league as it stands today. Teams to avoid, 1 from each. I think a lot of players are going to avoid Baltimore because of the controversy. That's going to, unfortunately, it's going to weigh over their heads for a while. As much as they want it to go away, it's not going to. And I think that's potentially going to give them, it's going to give them negative PR. It already has. Both around the league and they're in their own fan base. So it's like I feel like a lot of free agency is going to avoid them. And again, I'm not saying that as a Utica fan. I'm just stating the facts here.
Mm-hmm.
And I had something else there too. Crud. Oh well, I made my point with Baltimore. So I just think that's going to be a big one that's going to weigh over their heads. Oh, brought it back. I understand transparency. I understand that they are trying to be transparent with all things going on with this issue.
Mm-hmm.
Stop bringing it up. Stop putting it on your social media all the freaking time. We get it. You're trying to be transparent. Let it. If you want it to go away, let it go. Let it go away. People will hear about it however else they hear about it. Stop putting it on your socials. Yeah. Try and save face. I totally get what they're going for. They're going for transparency. I get it. It's commendable, but I think you're shooting yourselves in the foot. So I'm going to get off my soapbox now. Second team I think people are going to avoid, and it pains me to say this. People are potentially going to avoid Empire because they've lost a lot of their core. And they did not have a good season. I mean, we thought Dallas was going to take basically dead last in the West, and they didn't. They had 6 more points than Empire. Now, granted, they didn't end up dead last in the league, barely, by 1 game, because they had 10 points and Harrisburg had 8. So they did not end up dead last in the league, but it was a rough season for Empire. And I'm worried that free agency people are going to avoid them for that. But that doesn't mean that I'm not going to root for them. I'm done. I know I went on for a while. I apologize.
Okay. I guess I'll be as succinct in mine as I can be. Atmosphere, you're going to look at Utica, Milwaukee, Kansas City. Tops in the league right now.
Oh, yeah.
San Diego, you'd look at because they have a new arena that they're playing in, first year.
True.
How many fans will travel, though, could be a question. Will they be able to draw in fans from the new area? That's yet to be seen. Brand new arena, brand new facility, should be state of the art. Like everybody loves Nexus Center here in Utica. But it's the full arena and not just half the building for training.
Yes.
Tacoma looks like they have things moving in the right direction. I guess it'll depend on how those loans shake out. If we see, the players just go back to Empire and stay there, or if they come back and are like, hey, I liked playing there, trade me, or I'm going to retire.
Yeah.
Because we've seen players do that in other leagues. They demand a trade, but doesn't mean they have to be traded. Yeah, I agree with you on Empire. They don't really have an identity on the field besides, look at our Mexican national team star. He is fantastic. He's the newcomer of the year. Everything goes through him.
Yeah. He's, as much as he is definitely a draw, to Huber's point, he is definitely a draw. 100%. Is he enough? Is it enough to say, I played on the team with Marco Fabian? So,
quick tangent. After Reimer was on Striking Fury early in the season about how teams were pronouncing Marco Fabian.
Yeah.
And he enunciated it as Fabian.
Mm-hmm.
My brain immediately tied it into the Fa Mulan from the Mulan. So now every time they say Marco Fabian, my brain just has that matchmaker lady going Fa Mulan.
See, I don't have that because I never watched it.
Oh, well, you're missing out.
Hey, I'm not not knocking it. I'm just
suppose,
saying
though,
I never watched it.
I suppose, though, like, let's get down to business. God, you don't even get that reference.
Yes, I do. I know it's a song.
Okay.
I listen to music. I listen to Disney music. Okay, it's good stuff to sing along with. But no, I have never actually watched the film.
Well, then go listen to some Punk Rock Factory. They do rock covers of Disney songs.
I'll just go listen to Peyton Parrish's "We'll Make a Man Out of You." That's so good.
Yeah.
So
that's a great song. Yeah.
Only people that are here will see that.
But Dallas, they're on their fourth coach in 3 seasons.
Yeah.
This is, again, personal preference for me. I really don't like barn smell, so that's what eliminates Harrisburg and Mesquite if I was a free agent. Don't want to play on cow chips.
I like their. I still like Harrisburg's arena. I mean,
it's a nice. Well, the one we sat in was way too big for the crowd that was there, but
fair.
I haven't been since they've changed to the smaller one.
Yeah, it was more reasonably sized,
and
it was a nice arena, and it was a good crowd.
I just don't like the smell. Sorry. Personal.
I don't think it smelled. Oh. I didn't smell anything in that one in particular, at least. But
okay.
Yeah. Apparently, there's no barn smell.
Baltimore. I agree that the court case is a distraction. Yes. And honestly, I don't know if it's transparency. It really seems to be petty from Ed Hale. Like, just trying to really just remind people that this case is going on, because it immediately turned into people looking up the case in the comments and be like, oh, there's a plea bargain. Oh, that must mean this guy's guilty. You wouldn't take a plea bargain if it wasn't guilt. So he might not even get his day in court to defend himself. And unfortunately, the court of public opinion seems to have already condemned him.
Yeah. Again, both people that are Baltimore fans and around the league. I mean,
it's a nice little arena.
Oh, yeah. I loved it.
Too small for soccer, in my opinion.
Sorry, had to help the old man up.
The goals being a stone's throw away, really.
You could say, I mean, it was a goals throw away 3 times.
Yeah, like I said, it's small on the screen, but until you're there, you don't realize just how small it is.
Yeah. No, like I said, I, as a Utica fan, very much enjoyed my time there. Had a great experience.
Great atmosphere.
Loved the fans.
Fans were friendly.
They weren't that night, but I understand why. Just not going to point fingers, but some of us were not as nice.
Okay. Yeah. To address Huber's comments and about Florida potentially coming back, they just folded. They couldn't draw a crowd, and it's America's meth lab down there. Why would I want to play for that organization?
Wow. And they have a lot of pythons. I don't like pythons.
Oh, I love snakes.
Screw that.
Like, send me down to Florida, and I'm going to just be like, okay, time to Steve Irwin this place.
Yeah, no, you keep that. I'll pass.
Peanut Gallery likes to just call me a Disney princess because animals just love me.
Yoink.
You are a Disney princess.
Yeah, I would yoink everything.
And then one would bite you.
I don't have enough hair to be a Disney princess. They haven't done a bald one yet.
You could be the first.
Coming next, alopecia Disney princess. Yeah, no, not touching that. St. Louis, another one. Wouldn't touch it. And that has everything to do with the ownership situation, like Baltimore. Mm-hmm. Not that he's petty, but he doesn't belong on a bench. He's chased some of his best players out of town over the past couple seasons. And as great as it would be to have Joey Zanaboni on the call for whatever ridiculous line he comes up with when you score.
I love those.
I don't. It seems like there's small town politics going on in that locker room between their head coach. I realized that was a pun without making it intentional, because their coach and owner is Jeff Locker, so it's a locker room.
Oh, yeah. The fact that was unintentional makes it worse.
But yeah, no. In Locker's room, I don't want anything to do with it. And visa issues,
those are never going
unfortunately,
away.
We'll keep it stateside. Yeah, like Florida, or looks like Las Vegas is out. The guy that was rumored to be putting the team there was the one in charge of the marketing company that the league recently cut relations with. So looks like we're not getting the Ronaldinho team.
That's what it is.
After Marco Fabian's contract is up, he has it included in his that he has rights to a team if he so chooses.
Okay.
Who knows if Guadalajara will actually happen or not?
Yep. What I feel like we need another team in the East. I feel like Monterey should go back to the West. And we need another team in the East. Because I had this discussion with...
For purposes in the Northeast.
Yes. I could also see why we would want to have Monterey and Chihuahua split up. Because, then you can potentially have that face-off where they're not always knocking each other out of, playoff contention. But I can also see them going back to the West and us getting another Eastern team. Even if it's somewhere in between. Something like, I don't know, maybe Ohio area, Cleveland Crunch.
I think theirs was strictly facility issues.
I was just throwing one out there.
Look, I say get something around Salem, Massachusetts, and have the Witch Hunters.
Yeah.
Or, Burlington area. Put in a state that doesn't have it and doesn't have a whole lot to compete locally. I know Salem's not too far from Boston, but still.
I was just trying to think of something that would be, in between Milwaukee, Kansas City, and us. And Baltimore and Harrisburg, and just meet in the middle, and someone that could go, both travel in both directions. So that was my thought process in that one, but I can understand that. I just think that means that it just means more travel for, Milwaukee, Kansas City, things like that. Which I was just trying to be mindful of them.
Well, look, if you put another team in the Northeast,
St. Louis,
and let's say Florida also comes back, then you can go back to having 5 in an East, 5 in a Central with your 2 Texas teams, Milwaukee, Kansas City, and St. Louis. Yeah. And then your West can go back to Tacoma, Empire, San Diego, and the 2 Mexico teams.
Yeah. Could.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty high number. You got some confidence that Florida's coming back.
Well, As long as I get to call them the Flopics again.
Oh, you would have loved the Kansas City Chihuahua game at one point. They were literally every chance they got falling down, both sides at the same time. Because Chihuahua was coming up the field and stopped short, and Vandergrift fell backward on his butt. And then I think Chihuahua lost the ball, and then two of them fell. And then someone else. It's like they were just falling all over the place, just trying to draw a penalty on both sides.
Okay.
You would have loved it.
Yeah. Yeah. Number one reason they got rid of the chat, so that I wouldn't just be in there being like flop, 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 flop.
I mean, technically, you can still talk.
No, somebody took away the VIP.
Oh, they took away the VIP, so you know.
Yeah. I don't know.
Probably so that you couldn't override it.
So that I couldn't be the only one talking. And to whoever did that,
smart play.
Insert taken monologue. But it won't be to find you and not a live view. It'll be find you and make you give me my VIP back.
Yeah, I wonder who might have pointed out that VIPs could still talk. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I definitely don't have a clue who I would talk to first about learning the identities of mods.
Listen, okay, I'm going to say this. Since I haven't been upfront about it, as you know, and a couple other people know, I did mod this season. And let me tell you what, it was a hard freaking job. Like, fans
probably going away because it looks like Galazzo's
very difficult.
A lot of games.
They are. And you know what? I'm all for it because, like I said, it was easily one of the hardest jobs that I've had to do in some situations. Some of them were fairly easy. You know, the crowd, the chat was very good. And in other ones, whoo boy, just awful to the point that we're where we are now.
Yeah.
So
boom. All right, there we go. There's a 4,000 seat arena in Vermont at Burlington. It only hosts college hockey. There's your arena.
What's the team?
Vermont Catamounts play there. But okay. So if you want Vermont, Maple Leafs.
Come on. You can do better than that.
Yeah, I could. God, what's their minor league baseball team? They're based off of Champ. No, there used to be a team there. Then the MLB downsized all the minor leagues.
The Burlington Coat Factories. Get out of here with that.
Burlington. Well, currently it's the Burlington Sock Puppets, but it used to be like the Burlington Lake Monsters.
Wow.
Burlington Sock Puppets.
Okay. No.
Look, minor league baseball has some wild names. Like, I think it was in Wisconsin. There's a team called the Danville Dairy Daddies. It was. I don't know what team it is, but they've rebranded for at least a couple of games this year as the motivational speakers, and their jerseys look like the suit that Chris Farley wore in that old "In a Van Down by the River" sketch from SNL. I want one so badly because it looks great. That's all. I got the body for that. I don't know. I'd just like to see some more in the Northeast.
Yeah, I get that.
Ohio kind of like, it's not Midwest, it's not Northeast, it's just Ohio.
Sorry, I saw the Lake Valley corn dogs, and that sounds pretty good.
There's the Rocket City Trash Pandas. Look, we could go down a entire rabbit hole on minor league baseball team names and how great they are. Syracuse Salt Potatoes. The weird ones, the Burlington Rumble Ponies. The Montgomery Bay Biscuits.
I mean, they have a soccer team called the Vermont Green FC.
I was going to say, they got the Green Mountains.
Yep.
Vermont Lake Monsters was the team that I was thinking of.
Oh, okay.
What other cryptids do they got in Vermont? The Awful, the Bennington Monster, the Black Beast of Snake Mountain, Champ, Northfield Pigman, Terror of Lake Mempurum. I'm not even going to finish attempting to pronounce that. I don't know what the Wampa Hoofus is, but it looks adorably dorky. So there you go, the Vermont Wampa Hoofuses.
Right then. All right. Now that we've gone down that rabbit hole,
AKA the Side Hill Gouger.
Never mind, we're back down the hole. I was trying to claw us back out.
No, when we claw, we end.
Just kicks me right back down.
Just come on, Wampa Hoofus. That's great. Yeah, let's go with more cryptid-based names in this league.
Oh, God.
Yeah, they got some lake monsters. They got the Pigman. They got that Wampa Hoofus.
The Wampa Hoofus.
Hillside Gouger. Side Hill Gouger. There you go. You got great names all around you could use. Let's spread the sport northeast.
Okay.
Anything else tonight, Brandon?
I don't
Since we said that 30 minutes ago, and then
yeah, we went on one heck of a tangent. Yep.
Sound effects over there.
That's our cue.
That's our cue. If we can get a player on, we'll be back whenever they can agree to. Otherwise, we'll be back after free agency starts.
Yep.
Do something then. So might be a week, might be 2, might be a month. But otherwise, thank you for listening. Thank you for joining us for this season. Thank you for watching if you're here live. Leave a like, subscribe, follow us on all the socials that are coming up after the outro. And for one last time during the 2023-2024 season, I'm Matt. He's Brandon. Go Utica. Thank you for listening to the Keeper's Corner podcast on whatever podcast app you use. Please make sure to hit that subscribe button so you never miss an episode. If you'd like to interact with us, you can find us on Facebook, Instagram, Threads, and Twitter or X, whatever you prefer to call it. We have a TeePublic shop where you can get UCFC player swag or help support the podcast. Thank you. We appreciate it. And one last thing. Go Utica City.